Well, thank you all very much for coming, especially on a rainy night like tonight. My name is Wade Tenney. I'm the coordinator for the New York City chapter of the IGDA. I'm just going to be really brief. I just wanted to, the IGDA, for those of you who aren't familiar with the organization, it's the International Game Developers Association, not the Independent Game Developers Association, which a lot of people make that mistake. And it's a nonprofit volunteer group whose mission is to support game developers, to facilitate communication between game developers, to foster community among game developers. And you know, we play nice with publishers and other folks as well, but we are a developer-centric organization. So I have some pamphlets here if you want to learn more about the IGDA. So I'll put these, maybe I'll put these by the cheese. So it's like a trap. And then I also have IGDA membership applications if you want to become part of the IGDA. And for those of you who didn't find out about tonight's event through the IGDA NYC mailing list, you should go to nycgames.org and find out about, join the mailing list and find out about other events. And if you'd like to get involved with the chapter, we can always use additional help organizing events and helping to get the word out there and build community in different ways. So that's actually a good segue, because Karen Schreier is one of those dedicated volunteers from within the chapter whose idea this panel was, and who did the bulk of the work in putting it together. And so I just wanted to ask for a big round of applause for Karen. She did a great job. Thank you very much. We have a tremendous panel tonight. I'll let Karen introduce them in a moment. I just wanted to also say thanks to our sponsors, thanks to the New School for hosting us here, and also to Heavy Melody, who is videotaping here and at all of our, I think all the events over the past year, right?
Yes.
And this event will be on YouTube, in our IGDA NYC YouTube channel, which to date has gotten how many views?
43,000.
43,000. So I don't know who these people are, but
My parents.
we welcome them. Yeah. Mom, just keep getting refreshed. So yeah, without further ado, I will bring Karen. Oh, one more thing I wanted to mention. You'll notice on the back, from 9 to 11, it says after party at El Cantinero, which is a little Mexican place over on University, about 3 blocks away. And they when you go in, you just go straight through the restaurant, and upstairs in the back they have a bar, and so that's where hopefully lots of you will go and have a drink and chat more, since there's not much space for networking here. So hope to see you there. Karen Schreier, please take the stage.
Sorry if you can't hear me. It's because I'm really short. So we have an awesome panel today. It is What Can and Can't Games Do? The Potentials and Limits of Using Games for Learning. I just wanted to just let you know about my organization that I'm also co-organizing, which is called Learn Play. And it's an organization dedicated to making, playing, and understanding educational games. We are housed over at Teachers College at Columbia University, but obviously all of our events are open to all. If you're interested in learning more about Learn Play, definitely come see me afterward and we'll add you to the list. And we are going to have an event next Friday at 5 p.m. where we're going to go to the Eggplant Lab over at Columbia University and just play with some games. So, and we're going to try to do a lot more events like this. So I'm really excited to present to you our moderator, Katie Salin. Katie Salin is the Executive Director of the Institute of Play and Associate Professor in the Design and Technology program over here at Parsons. She is co-author of Rules of Play, Game Design Fundamentals, which, as you know, is used very widely in game design classes everywhere. as well as a game design reader. And she's currently working as lead designer on a digital game design to teach game design to middle school and high school youth. And without further ado, I'm going to present Katie, and she's going to introduce the rest of our panel.
Thanks. Frank Lance actually was supposed to be on this panel, and he was ill, so he asked me if I would do a quick tag team replacement for him. So I'm happy to be here. We're going to miss him because he has a lot of really interesting things to say on this topic, so maybe he's watching via YouTube eventually. So we have, I think, an interesting conversation tonight. Interestingly enough, this space of games and learning, even a year ago, I think was considered quite controversial. Within both the academic community, but also within development community. And in talking with the 4 panelists, they actually said, well, you know, we don't disagree that games have the potential for learning. And so something has actually happened in the way that people are now beginning to think about games and their relationship to learning, whether it's inside classrooms or in larger, what we would call informal learning spaces. And so in some sense, there's an assumption that, yeah, we can agree that games have the potential to teach something. And another way to frame that is that players have the potential to learn something from games. And I sometimes like to switch that around a little bit so it takes the onus off this sort of artifact of game and actually puts it back on the relationship with the player. Who is the person actually interacting with these systems that we design? So I just want to give a short introduction to each of the panelists. Their bios are on the handout, so I don't necessarily want to go through those. But I know each of these 4 people in some very different contexts. So Nick Fortuno is here on my far left, and he has just started a new company called Rebel Monkey, which is a game design company. And Nick and I have worked together for a couple years, both at Game Lab, where he was a game designer, but also on some sort of independent big game projects. So I know him as a fellow collaborator. Ken Perlin is at NYU, amazing computer scientist that has been doing, I think, quite important work around the notion of kind of procedural animation and working on a number of projects with programming related to teaching girls how to program and some larger issues around that. And so I've worked with Ken in terms of coming to his groups and talking to him about some of their projects. And it's always very interesting the kinds of issues that they're dealing with, and I'm hoping some of those issues will come up today. Louisa Campbell we have next. And Louisa teaches here at Parsons in the Design and Technology program. So she actually was a fellow faculty member with me and teaches in our thesis writing. And has been doing some really interesting work with a youth media group and asking questions how games might be used to activate the spaces in which youth are kind of working and learning. And then Anna Tai, I actually just recently met. She's at Sesame Workshop at the Joan Gans Center. And they have some very exciting plans for beginning to develop out a larger center committed to the notion of bringing sort of gaming and digitalness into the work that they're doing around youth education. So it's a really interesting, broad group, and I think they'll all have something interesting to say. One thing that I wanted to do is poll the room a little bit to get a sense of who you guys are, to give these guys a little bit better sense of who they're talking to. So how many of you are game developers? Okay. How many of you are new media producers of some sort? Okay. How many of you are students studying games? Okay. How many of you are educators? Might be working in schools. Okay. Are you secondary educators? University educators? Some secondary, combination of those things. Okay. So it's actually a really interesting balanced group. How many of you that are educators have used games in some capacity in your classroom or the learning environments in which you work? Okay. How many game developers have operated within this games and learning space, producing some kind of product around? Okay. So I would characterize you guys as a fairly sophisticated audience. Is that true? Yes. Yes, you wouldn't look it if you said no to that question.